Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the November edition of our college webinar. It's been a couple months since we did this, so Mitch is trying to keep me on track here so that I remember all the moving parts. But we'll give it a shot here. I think the way we're doing this now with YouTube, you actually have an email address that you can use to pose any questions, and I think that's CFAES_questions@osu.edu. And so as we go through today, if you've got things that you'd like to see me address or clarify, don't hesitate to drop a line here, and I'll try and keep my other computer from going to sleep while we're doing it. Well, I've promised you've seen this slide before, and we'll see it again, but just now that we've got our feet on the ground, November 1st was the second anniversary of my opportunity to be here at Ohio State with you. It's been an incredible opportunity, incredible learning experience, and in fact, I wake up every morning excited about the things that we have in front of us. So for me, it was a wonderful decision to take advantage of a wonderful opportunity, and I hope that you feel we're continuing to grow together on a path to really addressing some of the world's most pressing problems. Toward that, we've got a long list of things that are our focus for the coming year. I'm going to touch on a few of these things as we go through. Some of them will be coming up again. For example, the power of our educational product. Part of that ties into the question of how we implement our ATI re-envisioning document and process. And I'll have more to say about that. I think next month Gary Strackwadine has been charged by me with taking leadership of that process. He'll work closely with Jim Kinder and Linda Martin and all of the folks, faculty and staff who are involved. But I've asked Gary to think through exactly how we turn the recommendations of that task force into some action items, how we sequence it and how we accomplish it. I'll say a little more about extension education and so forth as we go on. One of the things in terms of supporting our success, we have empaneled a small group on the Worcester campus to take advantage of a lot of the conversations that have been taking place for the last year or more, but looking at how we actually integrate the operations of the Worcester campus. We want to make sure we understand what those moving parts are and think about ways that we can actually become more effective and more efficient in operating the campus there. Just touching briefly, you've seen some of these references before, but I'll just remind you that we did accomplish our master planning exercise. We're still waiting on the Cliff Notes version of their report. For the time being, the presentation that we made back in the summer is still posted on my website, so you can turn to that. And I've referred you to this planning site before. This is a college site. You can get to it in a variety of ways. It's actually on my webpage. It's under the Faculty and Staff Resources webpage. We're sitting here today in Cottman Hall, hopeful that the replacement of the heat exchangers through the summer will have some positive impact through the winter months. I think maybe we've been doing a little temperature test here the past week or so. But there's more to be done here in Cottman, and that process will continue to be communicated. Across the street, the Student Success Center is on time and on budget. We're looking for an opening for that facility in the first part of the spring semester, and so stay tuned for that. Up at Worcester, our engineering building and our greenhouses, the last two elements of recovering from the tornado damage at the Worcester campus, are nearing completion, and we're looking for a December open house for those two facilities. That'll be quite a celebration to have turned the corner back from the damage that was done that was so devastating a few years back, and to be able to see the completion of those buildings. And we've had a team, and I've asked Dan Herms, as the chair of entomology, to take leadership for this, but it's a much broader process. But we're doing scoping for the project of replacing Thorne Hall And again, if you refer back to our master planning exercise, you begin to get a sense of the scope and scale there. We're simply not changing one location for another, but actually thinking about what it is we aspire to accomplish, thinking about the synergies of research and teaching that could be accomplished in a new facility, thinking about how we would create some space for the private sector to be engaged with some of the things we're doing. Just a quick little screenshot here of a couple of different of the facilities I was talking about. Upper left there is the Williams Hall greenhouses, very close to completion. Those will be remarkable facilities for our faculty, staff, and students to use on the Worcester campus. Lower left, you can see the Ag Engineering building that is nearing final stages. Kind of hard to tell what's going on as you drive by. I was up at the Worcester campus on Wednesday and noticed that you really can't see much anymore because it's so close to completion that all the fun stuff is happening inside. And then over on the right side of the screen is a shot of the Student Success Center. That glass that you see faces Woody Hayes Drive on the south side of the building, actually adds space as well as architectural feature to that renovation. It won't be too long before the library is ready to start moving books back in, but the configuration of this Student Success Center is a transition from just a library to what libraries are today, which is a modern learning opportunity for students. And so just the way that it's laid out on the two floors and the connectivity and flow, the availability of study space, will all be a great enhancement to students over here on our Midwest campus in Columbus. The Vice President's conversation on the future of extension is continuing in full force. The team, the committee, has been working behind the scenes with a lot of additional partners over the past couple of months, but your opportunity to again participate in framing our future is on December 10th during the annual conference for extension. You'll recall, and I'll remind you several times here this afternoon, that the Extension Annual Conference spans 3 days, the 9th to the 11th of December. And there's plenty of reason for all to be there through parts of this event. Those who have an interest in what extension looks like are going to have a chance to really hone some of the earlier pieces of input as we talk about scenarios for our future. So you'll recall, going back several months, that we have solicited input from you, from stakeholders outside the university and outside extension, and even from some groups that didn't really know us all that well, asking what it is that Ohioans will face in the future. We didn't ask at the start what we should do in the future. We said, what are the issues? And so we organized those trends, have done further research and development on those. White papers were written really examining some of the key trends. And at the Extension Conference on Wednesday, we'll spend a lot of time exploring scenarios. Again, let me reinforce, this is not an exercise either across the many months or even in a few weeks at the annual conference that is absolutely defining what we're going to do in the future. We continue to look at this as a futuring exercise. One of the things that we're going to have to be is adaptable and agile. And we're trying to build that into the very conversation around what our future looks like. And so we encourage you to use Wednesday the 10th to really re-engage in thinking about how we move that forward. It's been after my most recent webinar to you, but during Farm Science Review, I actually announced a Field to Faucet initiative to deal with Ohio's water quality issues. We were coming off a weekend in early August where the taps ran dry in Toledo, metaphorically, if not actually. People woke up on a Saturday morning cautioned not to use the water, and that lasted in total for about 56 hours. Now, water quality issues are not new, and we've been doing a lot of work for a very long time, but it seemed like the perfect time to try to focus attention. So we've pulled together the folks within the College of Food, Ag, and Environmental Sciences who really have a water portfolio, but we've realized that while we have a lot of capacity, there are other capacities around campus that we need to be bringing into this conversation. And so our initial work was really to reach across all of Ohio State to try to define some of the key issues, particularly looking for issues of high impact, but affecting the very near term. And so understanding that this is a very long-term solution to find a sustainable answer to this problem, we also realize that there are key pieces of this puzzle that really need attention sooner rather than later. The other thing that's different about field to faucet and the way we're treating this is it is outcome-driven research. It's purpose-driven research. So what we're trying to do is actually say, unlike the way many of us have operated as academics, where we get a grant and work on this project and our goal is to eventually publish, we can do those things with the Field to Faucet initiative as well. But we really want to spend time focused on turning our research into solutions to the problems at hand. And so there'll be a very key component of this focused on deliverables. As we talked across Ohio, or across OSU, and thought about how we would invest the $1 million that I put on the table toward this, the opportunity to connect with the Ohio Board of Regents and the state funding that had been promised for water R&D became available. And Professor Tom Bridgman at the University of Toledo and I were asked by Chancellor John Kerry to chair a committee that would give advice back to state government on how to invest their money. We currently have 7 or 8 institutions from across Ohio and about 50 researchers who have been working on a process very similar to the process we went through here at Ohio State, identifying all the different things we could do, aggregating them into a series of related activities, and then prioritizing what we need to get to first in the near term with a modest amount of money. And so those partnerships actually look like they're going to pay real dividends. A lot of these teams have been working together for a number of years. The Stone Lab and Ohio Sea Grant have really facilitated their ability to interact on problems. And now we're linking these together from end to end, from work out in agricultural production, failing septic systems, municipal sewer systems that have occasional overflow issues, all the way through to toxin monitoring, the ability to detect the toxins, and treatment properties for water before it goes into the municipal water systems. So I think it's really going to be a very powerful outcome here. In addition to these $3 million, we're actually doing a lot of work trying to fundraise from other sources. And there are a lot of people that are interested in the potential to be part of the solution to Ohio's water quality issues. Jay Martin, professor in food, agriculture, and biological engineering, is going to serve as the faculty lead for the Field to Faucet initiative. His guidance will really help keep the work of a wide variety of faculty on track. Our $1 million from the college is actually going to be invested not only across the college and the university, but in some cases out to some of our partner institutions, just in the very same way that the Board of Regents money will eventually be invested. So I wanted to bring you up to date on that. It's really something that's caught the attention of an awful lot of people in different sectors around the state. This is a matter of conversation essentially everywhere I go in Ohio. Update on a number of different items happening around the college. For those of you here in the Columbus region, my thanks to you for responding to the leadership of Melissa Krieger on our Bucks for Charity campaign. Thanks to your donations, our college has exceeded our goal and have been a contributor to the broader university goal. Of course, you'll remember, for those of you who've been playing along at home, that I didn't give a webinar in either September due to Farm Science Review or in October because the date fell on the Friday prior to homecoming, and we had scheduled a State of the College address. For those of you who haven't had a chance to sit through that and hear some of the observations that I had to make about what I've seen over these past couple of years and what I see lying ahead in terms of priorities, you can go through either my page on the college website or through the Faculty Staff Resources tab and get to a recording of that State of the College address. Opportunities to meet with our new president are pretty special chances since he's still new in his tenure. He asked if there was a time that he could actually meet with faculty and staff, and the schedules coincided such that we've invited him to day 3 of the Extension Annual Conference over in the Ohio Union. So at 9 a.m. on December 11th, President Drake will spend an hour with us. We will have, we hope that many of you can join us at the Ohio Union, and we've had a registration process going on there, but we will also broadcast his address by YouTube, and we will provide the same opportunity for email questions to be asked, and I will facilitate that question and answer session at the conclusion of his remarks. He's scheduled to be with us for about an hour on December 11th, so mark your calendars for that. You've heard me speak about this a number of times now, but diversity is an important part of our success, both in the near term and the long term, and our diversity team actually has professional development funds that they make available on a rolling basis. The most recent link to this came out of the November CFAES monthly that came by email, but you can trace it back through this website to take a look at how you would apply for those professional development funds. Eric Bodie and the financial team have put together a nice new website. I've listed it there. Which really does provide a college-wide resource. So this is independent of location, it's independent of budget source, it's designed to provide a variety of different resources that are available to you as you look at money management across the college. On Monday of next week, the Monday before Thanksgiving, the college is actually joining forces with Stop Hunger Now to pack 75,000 meals. There'll be about 300 of us over at the 4-H Center on Monday afternoon. We really appreciate the outpouring of support and volunteerism. We've got a capacity crowd. We know there'll be some walk-ins, but we've actually had to stop the registration for more volunteers because we've filled up a really good sign. If you weren't able to volunteer and still would like to participate, you can go through this website and there's an opportunity to provide some financial funding that will actually help us meet the goal that we've set. Meals are 29 cents a piece as we're packing them. And so you can be supportive for 100 meals for just $29. So think about going as we enter this time of year when we tend to really think gratefully about all the blessings and riches we have. This is an opportunity for us to stop and think about those who may not be in quite the same position that we are, and to provide them with some opportunities for healthy foods. Well, as is my practice, let me turn to some highlights from different parts of the college, and we'll start with resident education. You know, we've talked about this before, the upward trajectory of our enrollments, but since I last spoke to you in this format, we actually have the official numbers, the snapshot from fall semester, as we call it. Overall, our undergraduate enrollments in the college have increased over 6% compared to a year ago, and that includes a 9% increase at Ohio State ATI. Ohio State ATI is back above 700 students enrolled for the first time, in many years. We're up also in graduate enrollment, a little bit over 3%. You know, it's not just about student numbers, it's about the experiences they have, and I tell these stories all the time. I talk about our internships, our capstone course experiences, talk about our study abroad opportunities. about the service learning that takes place throughout the college. But there are a lot of different ways to recognize excellence among our students. We're at 152 students in the honors program, which is up just since about 8 years ago from a point of around 70. So we've nearly doubled the number of students in the honors program over the past 7 or 8 years. In addition, we have 41 environment and natural resource scholars. So at Ohio State, we have both an honors program and a scholars program. And ENR actually has a defined scholars program in addition to the honors. So it's really great to see, basically almost 10% of our students are in the honors and scholars programs. In the past year, we've had nearly 60 of our undergrad researchers present their work just here in various venues on campus, things like the Denman and other sorts of opportunities. These are really value-added experiences, and as you talk to students, it's not restricted to people who think they want a research career. These are great value-added opportunities for all sorts of career trajectories and give students an opportunity to really apply the things they're learning in the classroom to problem solving in real time. Again, student leaders can be defined a lot of different ways. We could talk about the more than 40 college organizations and clubs and all the leadership that goes into that. Those leaders roll up into the CFAES Student Council. But in addition, we have some specific groups, 30 ambassadors that are part of the CFAES portfolio, and that includes some students who are part of the Environment and Natural Resource Program. In addition, then, we have 12 SENR ambassadors who focus more on the majors within the school, 10 ambassadors up at Ohio State ATI. Very important touch points in all of these cases. They help out at events, they help out with hosting students and families when they come for visits. They really represent a view on what our college is all about that faculty and staff just can't make. We have 15 study abroad voyagers, folks who are advocates for internationalizing the experience, and then 47 peer mentors that have signed up. These are students who have volunteered to actually work on largely scholastic activities with other students in the college, but they often build bonds that are far beyond just the academic coursework. A few acknowledgments of folks who've had some great success and some activities coming up. Anastasco in plant pathology was the recipient of a nationally competitive United Soybean Board Fellowship, showing that even plant pathologists can cross boundaries here. David Showalter, who's a grad student in plant pathology, and Michael Falk, who was a former undergrad in the Environment and Natural Resources major, just this past week won first place in the Entomological Society of America video contest and outreach category for the video they put together on emerald ash borer. The Ohio State livestock judging team finished 6th at the Royal Intercollegiate in Kansas City recently. That is their highest finish in many years. Jennifer Malpas from the school, graduate student here in the School of Environment and Natural Resources, presented a paper at the American Ornithologists Union national meeting and was designated Best Student Paper Award. An event coming up that if you are on the Columbus campus and have a chance to stop by, it is truly an inspiring opportunity. The Environmental Science Student Symposium is on Tuesday the 25th, next Tuesday, right before the Thanksgiving break for students. This is an exercise by one of our courses, ENR 2100. And so from 8 to 4 on Tuesday, over a couple of cycles in the Ohio Union Performance Hall, we'll have 700 student posters presented. Part of their class experience is to put together teams and determine how to present to the general public topics of interest or controversy in environmental subjects. And I've had a chance to stop by and just chat with some of the students, this is a general education course, so a lot of these students are not, in fact, students who are majoring in the environment, but in a lot of ways this accomplishes exactly the goals that we talk about all the time. How do we convince people who are not in our disciplines to understand our disciplines and to understand how we talk about the work that we're doing, the problems we're facing, the solutions we're finding? And so here in the environmental sciences, we've got what I would consider to be a best practice, where we've got young people who may not go on, likely will not go on to environmental careers, actually having to wrestle with what do you think about a complex topic? And then secondly, how do you actually convey those opinions and hold conversations with people who are less informed than you about the topic? So if you have a chance to support that and stop by on Tuesday, please do so, 8 to 4 in the Ohio Union Performance Hall. Our career fairs were a great success, and these took place this fall since we last spoke by webinar. The Columbus Career Fair, which was held simultaneously in the Ohio 4-H Center and in Ag Admin Auditorium because of the numbers of people, had about 110 companies represented, and that turned into hundreds of interviews and internship and job offers being made. More recently, Ohio State ATI on our Worcester campus had a career fair with 19 companies represented, and it actually was quite a big success. Some of these companies had never really worked with our ATI students before, and so there's some opportunities for internships and likely some job offers coming out of that. A few weeks ago, our students from across the college, both Columbus and Worcester, were off in Louisville at the National FFA Convention. And just a note from Ohio State ATI, they actually identified 40 of their current and former, so students who finished their 2 years and are now down at the Columbus campus, 40 students who earned FFA's highest award, the American FFA degree. And so congratulations to them, but I think it also speaks very, very highly of the caliber student that we're attracting to our program. And then finally on resident education, you know I'm a big fan of study abroad, and so just a preview, 2015 will mark a milestone. We will have opportunities for students to experience all 7 continents, because we will begin our first program associated with work in Antarctica. Coming up over winter break, we've got a human and animal interactions group that's headed off to Greece. The first year experience program will focus on sustainability, and they'll go to Nicaragua over the winter break. And then early in the spring, we'll send the Alpha Zeta partners off to Brazil, first to Piracicaba and then in time spent around southern Brazil to study economics, policy, trade, ag production, etc. Coming up in May session, 13 different programs, and literally you can go around the world with the programs that we offer through the May session and summer session. So again, get in touch with Kelly or Tim. If you have students inquiring about any of these opportunities, you can steer them off to the proper source for more information. And the planning for these sessions is well underway, as you might imagine. So students who have an interest should be advised to get in touch as soon as possible to see what's available. I continue to highlight the fact that our students are globally prepared when they graduate. Our student participation rate in international experiences hovers around 45%, which is double the university's average. So we're doing a great job of getting our students out, even for a short period of time. Seeing the world really changes their perspective. On the research side, Steve Slack and his team, Lori Kaiser's been very instrumental in this, have come up with an incredible new informational tool. There's a regular electronic newsletter called Research News. If you're not receiving that and have an interest, I encourage you to contact Steve Slack's office, and they can get you on that mailing list. I suspect it goes to our entire list, but sitting here I realized I never actually looked at the 2 on the line. I was so busy looking at the newsletter itself. It really is a treasure trove of information on a variety of opportunities, expectations, celebration of recent awards, but also a great place to see a lot of the upcoming opportunities. Among the things highlighted very recently is a link to the new USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture Strategic Plan. Oh, ho-hum, another strategic plan. Why should I be interested? Well, actually, their strategic plan, 5 years out, really drives a lot of their thinking about where their funding is going to be. And NIFA really exists to be the conduit for federal money to our universities. And so for you to understand what they're seeing as the strategic plan for programmatic purposes really gives you an opportunity to, 1, plan your own programs and try to align those with what you anticipate might be some of the funding opportunities, or if you see things that are overlooked or misaligned, to actually engage when you have an opportunity, either through your professional societies or even directly. There are lots of different listening session opportunities that are made available from NIFA. And so, you know, this strategic plan is something that's actually of pretty great interest. Responsible conduct of research is something that we all have responsibility to do. Training is available. The latest research news talks about that. I had the opportunity to interact with the last group on this page. The International Nonthermal Processing Workshop was here in Columbus just a few weeks ago. We actually had a number of events down at COSI downtown, a really nice venue for this kind of opportunity. You know, I didn't really know what to expect, but as I stood and talked to participants, just an absolutely fascinating array of different technologies that these folks work on, and the application of those technologies to different kinds of products and different kinds of processes is really just fascinating. And so this kind of recognition that we're a destination for groups like this is, I think, a really powerful validation of the scientific credibility that we have. I mentioned that the research news had a series of celebration of recent awards, and so I've pulled from a couple different sources. And again, this is just a smattering. There were dozens of awards that have come across my desk, but just some that give you a sense of the breadth. So David Francis and Horton Crop Sciences on pathogen resistance in tomatoes, some brand new work from Qihong Wang and Food Animal Health Research Program, both of those funded by USDA NIFA. Qihong's work is on porcine epidemic diarrhea virus, and if you've been following the news, that virus has just been devastating the pork population here in the U.S. Even if you haven't been following the news, you've seen it in the grocery store. That's one of the contributing factors to the rise in cost of bacon and other pork products. Linda Safe and Garish and team have put together a proposal that was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and their challenge program on childhood malnutrition and enteric infections. Again, just showing the diversity of where our folks go for their funding. One of our new faculty, Monique Paris Garcia in animal science, got some money from the National Pork Board to work. She's an animal behaviorist and animal care and welfare specialist, and so she's looking at some aspects of the pork production system. And, you know, sort of flipping the other direction, an award on the global grain trade, and specifically on the impact of Chinese policy decisions. Miranda, AEDE, got funding from the Office of the Chief Economist in USDA. So when you look at what we do in terms of our research, not only is the portfolio of expertise very, very broad, truly covering the waterfront, but we're very successful and entrepreneurial in the sources of funding. And so as you think about this, especially with your young faculty colleagues, really dream big and look at a variety of different sources for funding, because we have a great track record with a very diversified funding portfolio. In extension, there's a lot going on. I'll focus a little bit on the annual conference in a moment, but at the national level, there have been a couple of annual conferences, and the 4-H professionals, basically it's an Ohio State show when the 4-H professionals get together. 21 presentations, which represented certainly a plurality within the total presentation portfolio, and multiple of our folks were award winners. The Family and Consumer Sciences team is no different. Again, multiple presentations at their meeting, I think down in Lexington, Kentucky, and then a number of award winners out of that group. Our colleagues in agricultural, environmental, and development economics host a series of agriculture outlook meetings through December and January, and those will be gearing up soon. We have the tip-off meeting essentially is at the Ohio 4-H Center in early December. These meetings are really a high spot for a lot of our stakeholders, and I routinely, the last 2 years, and I anticipate it'll be no different this year, starting about March or April, I get emails from people who go to these meetings wondering if we have the dates scheduled for the upcoming year, because they want to make sure that this is on their calendar. So it truly gives them a variety of different stakeholders, from the ag production area to ag finance to the energy and environment and policy organizations, gives them a window into what some of our experts are thinking about in terms of hot topics in agriculture. I had the opportunity just on Wednesday afternoon to join the Family and Consumer Sciences faculty and staff over in the Union for their annual meeting. I was at the end of 2 days, and they still were extremely vibrant after 2 days of hard work. I think it's a testament to the enthusiasm they have for their discipline. Among the 180 or so folks who were there, 47 new faces just in this past year. One of the things that they did at the annual meeting is actually rolled out their new web presence, and you see it listed there, livesmartohio.osu.edu. And so you'll be seeing a lot of references to that as we go through time. We do have the Extension Director search lying ahead of us, so a little update, as I promised over the last couple of months in different venues. I told you I'd give you updates as soon as I have them. I've asked Dr. Jeff Sharp, who is Director of the School of Environment and Natural Resources, to chair the search committee. He's a very effective leader, and the job of the search committee is really going to be to turn over all of the rocks that are out there, finding the best possible suite of candidates for us to choose from. We're looking at search firms to assist with that process, including an internal OSU HR search group. And so in the next week or so, we'll actually be making some decisions about that, but it will be a national search to identify candidates. I think we're looking for a change agent, someone who will move us into the second century of extension. Next year is year one of century two, and it really represents an opportunity for us to continue talking about the new things that we can do. Building on the past excellence we have, how do we continue to adapt to a changing environment? An environment that still needs what we have to offer, but is likely going to need us to do it in a different way. A lot of people have asked about stakeholders and their role in the process. We'll certainly, when we initiate the search, we will ask for input. We're looking for candidates from whoever can provide us leads on candidates, but the search function itself will be a process that's owned by us, and I'll build a robust search committee around Jeff's leadership. And then when we reach the point of the interview process, we actually will be working in a very directed way to ensure that there is plenty of opportunity for stakeholder engagement to help advise us as an organization as we identify the right person for the future. I've had some great international opportunities here in the last couple of months. Just in the past few weeks, we hosted here at Ohio State the Extension Africa 2014 conference. This was organized largely by Robert Agunga and ACEL with a team helping around him, but great support from the international programs in agriculture, from OSU Extension, and from ACEL. I had a chance to speak to that group for a few minutes about the future of Extension. They seemed like a very energized group, really looking for ways that they can identify best practices from the system that we have here in the U.S. and adapt those to the circumstances that they have in sub-Saharan Africa. We're currently hosting a couple of USDA-funded Borlaug Fellows. We actually are going to see 5 in total coming through our Worcester campus, working with a variety of different faculty up there. A new corn disease has emerged that's really causing a problem in East Africa. And so we continue to be very successful at competing for Borlaug Fellows and other nationally and internationally competitive training programs. It's really great that we have both the reputation and the capacity to be part of that ongoing professional education and the internationalizing of our programs here at Ohio State. If you follow the news feeds, both from the university and within the college, there's just a really great article circulating right now on our iAgri program. This is a USAID-funded project that continues to work with Sokoine Agricultural University in Morogoro, Tanzania. Had an opportunity to visit that project a year and a half ago, and really is a pretty amazing opportunity. I think at the current time we're at about just under 130 graduate degrees are being pursued or have been conferred on Tanzanian students. About 20 of those students have worked here at Ohio State. We're the lead on this project in the U.S., but we've got a variety of partners, other 1862 land grants, and then Tuskegee is a very important partner on this as well. But, and we've split the students among those U.S. partners, but also working with a couple of universities in India and working with a research graduate studies network in sub-Saharan Africa. Those students are doing projects that are in their home country, and so they have advisors from Tanzania as well as from their foreign institution, and the whole intent is to give them research skills working on problems that are of local importance to go back and continue to have an impact and build capacity. So it really is a project that is looking to the future. It's funded as part of the Feed the Future campaign, which is USAID and USDA's partnership to try to increase agricultural capacity around the world. We're held up as really one of the models, and so to Dave Craneville and Dave Hansen and all of the other folks that work on this from our side, a job well done. I always like to highlight some of the folks around the college. Some of you may have seen the news release or the video produced, but Stan Garrett here in School of Environment and Natural Resources was asked to participate in the Science Writers 2014 conference that we held on campus. This is something that we have folks come and see, come into Ohio State annually. It's an opportunity not only to get the science writers together and talk about their craft, but we also are able to engage them with our scholars. They spent some time out at the Schiermeier wetlands to see some of our facilities. Stan, of course, among his many other accomplishments, is a world expert on coyotes, and particularly on the urban expansion of coyotes. And so that makes a really compelling story. Karen Bruns in OSU Extension was recently honored as an inaugural member of the Academy of Community Engagement Scholarship. A really great recognition of the impact that she's had. It comes, ironically, just as earlier this week she announced her retirement effective in March. Karen, you've had a really superb impact on Extension here in Ohio, and I think it's only just that your peers have acknowledged that on a national basis through this membership in this academy. Thomson Reuters actually does analysis of the impact of scientists in a variety of different disciplines, and Ratan Lal here in the school actually was identified as one of the most influential minds in the world in the area of environment and natural resources. And so, we're all well aware of the impact of his work, but to see this quantified and acknowledged is really a point of pride. Right around the homecoming events that we were having, Food Science and Technology had their second induction event for their Hall of Distinction. If you haven't seen this, go over to Parker when you're here on the Columbus campus sometime and walk around the halls. The idea is to actually create sort of a living body of work of people who have passed through food science in one of its many guises here at Ohio State and been impactful on the discipline, on students, on the research, on industry, and all of the above. And you can see the names listed there on this slide that were recognized this year. I see I've got Bill Hildebolt's name misspelled, only one L there at the front, but we've got a variety of names here. When you listen to the stories about what these folks accomplished, it truly is a remarkable body of work. And the idea of having these plaques and stories scattered around the halls of Parker is that they can then be used as sort of points of pride and recruiting opportunities as you're talking to prospective students and families. They actually can stand there and read some of these accomplishments and see what you can aspire to do with a degree from Food Science and Technology, the college, and Ohio State. Had the opportunity just last week to spend time with award winners acknowledged by the Staff Advisory Council. They offer the awards you see listed here. Nathan, Kathy, Chris, Kathy, well done to all of you. The recognition is certainly well deserved. We have many folks here in the college who fill these staff roles and really are essential to every bit of the excellence we accomplish. And so my hat is off to you. Had an opportunity to congratulate you when we were together at lunchtime a few days ago, but I just wanted to acknowledge the great contributions that you're all making. And the Staff Advisory Council is actually soliciting some additional input from folks around the college, and I've listed the link there. This is a group that I really enjoy working with. I like to get together with their group a couple times a year just to get a different sense of the pulse of the university and the college. Helps me understand some things that I need to attend to that I might not see otherwise. And so the Staff Advisory Council provides an incredibly important resource, and I very much admire their focus on professional development for their peers. Number of coming events, some of which I've mentioned already. Stop Hunger Now is on Monday afternoon. Again, we're going to be over at the 4-H Center here in Columbus, but I think our roles are essentially filled with regards to volunteers, but the website I gave you earlier in the webinar actually is something that will lead you to a place where you could make a cash contribution if you want to support this. I talked to you about the Environmental Student Symposium coming up on Tuesday, 8 to 4 in the Ohio Union. A really great opportunity to see what the next generation of citizens is likely to say about complex subjects in their environment. Of course, tomorrow, the 22nd, is the day that Ohio State qualifies for the Big Ten championship game by beating Indiana, and then they put the icing on the cake on the 29th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, with the Beat the Team Up North Day. We'll look forward to that. That, of course, is this year in Ohio Stadium, both of those games at noon. An opportunity passed to me by Henry Zerbe, Chair of Animal Sciences. One of his classes, Meat Science 4510, which is the processed meat class, actually is inviting people who can join them to a tasting session of their products. They've not only learned how to make these, but they've learned the food safety protocols, all of the various things that one has to go through in doing product creation, development, and processing. And that'll be the Wednesday after Thanksgiving, December 3rd. Their class actually runs from 9:10 to 11:15 a.m. over in the Animal Science Building, room 117. Right now we have the open house scheduled for the Ag Engineering Building and the Williams Greenhouse up at Worcester on Friday, December 19th. That'll be at the end of the day. We're pretty sure things are still on track to be finished at that time and be able to do these open houses, but stay tuned, mark your calendars now. Now I'll have another webinar before we get to this point, but just so that you can make sure this is on your calendar, Sunday, December 21st will of course be our fall semester commencement. So we'll see some of our successful graduates turned loose on the world. Now, I've mentioned this a number of times, but I'm going to close with repeating it, and that is that the Extension Annual Conference is coming up Tuesday through Thursday, December 9th through 11th. Tuesday will be a variety of activities. A lot of the professional meetings are taking place that day, some other sessions that are going on. Wednesday is a full day of our futuring exercises and the Vice President's conversation process, your opportunity to really continue to join in that as we look at scenarios that emerge from thinking about the issues that will face our stakeholders over the next 20 years. Thursday morning then is the time with President Drake. He'll join us from 9 to 10. It will be broadcast via YouTube for those of you who can't be there in person, and there will be a mailbox set up as there is today for any comments or questions that you might have, and he is certainly has agreed to try to answer questions that you might have. He's had relatively few opportunities to speak to the university community. He was with the University Senate a few weeks ago, but this is a great opportunity for us to really take advantage of hearing a little bit about where he sees us going. He has spent a lot of time with us, maybe as much as any other academic college on campus. He's been to the Worcester campus. He'd like to come back when our students are there to see a little different perspective of the campus. But he's taken a tour of our research capacity there as well as Ohio State ATI. He spent time at Farm Science Review. He spent time at the State Fair. He's been to a number of other events with our ag stakeholders. And so it really has been a great chance for him to get an initial sense and for him to come and be part of the Extension Annual Conference. Again, this is framed so that the entire college has the ability to interact with him, but to see Extension and its full power gathered together at the annual conference venue, I think will be a whole lot of fun, great opportunity. So with that, Mitch, we'll call it a wind down for today. I'll watch just for a second here. We haven't had any email questions come in yet. This is a new style for us, so hoping that there aren't folks out there trying to email and sending it to my email by mistake. But the next webinar, of course, will be the third week of December, the 19th. This time of year, just by nature of all of the holiday events and such, we do spend a lot of time reflecting on things. I'll actually have my Thanksgiving with my family tonight. Our daughter's able to come over and join us, and she'll be working when the actual date arrives next week. And I suspect it's the same for all of you and your families and friends, that you know, it's if nothing else, this is a good time of year just to take a moment to pause and think about all the things that we've been able to accomplish, think about the opportunities that lie still ahead, but don't forget about the web of life that's all around you, and the people around you that help keep you grounded, that put you back on the right track when things don't seem to be going quite right, and are really the fabric of what keeps us going. With that, Mitch, I think we're going to close it out for this time, folks. Enjoy the weekend. Root for the Bucks to win tomorrow, to not only get to Indianapolis in the Big Ten championship, but maybe even sneak up another notch or two on that playoff system that's new to us this year. Wish you the best of Thanksgivings, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.